Now, if you'd observe the center board, I'm going to come on the other side of the camera here, and I've got just a little bit of denatured alcohol. And the reason is, you need to see this grain here. And when you wet it, it really pops it and makes it noticeable. Now I want you guys to think back to when we were in high school, and remember that time when you permed the back of your hair? Well, that's what this board looks like, all the way down through here. It looks about that curly. Now, to the right of this picture, here I've got a piece of 6/4. You'll notice that this is kind of a plain grain here. And what's recommended by the cabinet industry or designers, or I'm not sure who exactly came up with this. It's probably been a long time, you know, hundreds of years, when somebody came up with this idea. But you generally want your focal woods to be in a place where they're going to have prominence. For instance, like a cabinet panel or a tabletop, something like that. And the thinking being is this: when you look at a portrait on the wall or a photograph, you don't want to look at the frame. That's not the reason you put it on the wall or went to the art gallery to look at it. You want to look at the photograph or the portrait, and so you don't want the frame to overstate itself. But you also want the frame to be nice and concise and clean. So, according to that theory and thinking, I should use this for the panel. However, when you have a piece that's this wild, or maybe I should say this interesting, it makes it a little difficult to cut it and put it together, because I only need about a foot. But if you look at this, here's a foot. But if you go down here, this foot looks different from that, and this looks real different from this, because the grain's tighter and everything. And if you go down at that far end, this has kind of an arrowhead shape to it, and that's more of a kind of a curve form. So it doesn't lend itself real well to matching up on a panel. If you look at this piece of 6/4, this looks a little bit better as far as it's got some ribbon here, and I'll just wet this up with a little denatured alcohol, and it should show a little better, I'm hoping. I'm not sure how well it shows on the camera, but you can see lighter ribbon striping through here. But the grain itself is more subdued. And so this would be a good piece for the border. However, I'm a little short. I only have enough for 2 pieces out of this. Now I have another piece out in the shop that I showed on the former video, but there's a part in the middle that's got some grain discoloration, which I don't like. And it also has a twist in it, which, being it's 6/4 and 1 3/8 inches thick, I've got 3/8 to work with. I could try to get it out of there, but like I said, I don't have a good joiner. If I had at least an 8-inch joiner, I could work it out of there and it would be no big deal. Now, let's turn our attention to this piece here on the left of the picture. This is what they call gummy cherry. And the reason why is cherry will get mineral pits in it. That's one of its nuances, if you will. And all these dark lines here are mineral pits, or gum pockets, which some people like, and I've actually got a door company that I buy from occasionally that offers gummy cherry as one of their options. And it's quite expensive, actually. Probably because pieces like this are kind of rare with all this gum in it. The other thing is, people find this undesirable. A lot of people would. And but other than the gum pockets, it's kind of a plain piece. It doesn't have a lot of figure. It doesn't have, I don't really see any curl in it either, and I kind of doubt if it was a curly piece, because this was 4/4 and I know I had some 6/4 that was curly. or 5/4. I don't remember. This may have come out of 6/4. It was left over from a bed project that I did for somebody else. So anyway, I could use this for the panel. I'm not sure. This would bring a feature that would be kind of different. But other than the pitch pockets, it's not really anything great to look at. And maybe some of you think, well, why would you want a piece of that in there anyway? So, as I go along, I'm going to scout through my pile a little more. I am not opposed to using this as the border piece. However, I want the panel to look really nice, too. And not real straight-grained and bland, but also not overpowering. And it may be the type of thing where I could use this much curl in the border, and I can also put curl in the middle panel, and it'll look fine. Especially if I use the same kind of wood. Now, if I would use that walnut as the border, it wouldn't matter. This would be fine for a panel. I would just have to be a little bit careful how I cut this and put it together.